Chapter 1. The Secret Language of Women. Tom Parks had long suspected that the universe played favorites when handing out exciting personalities. Some people were born with a knack for adventure, drama, or at the very least a hobby that didn't make people's eyes glaze over at parties. Tom, by contrast, had been handed a perfectly respectable, terribly unremarkable personality that performed its functions like a reliable old toaster. Dependable, sturdy, and utterly devoid of flair. At 28, he had what most would call a good life. A stable job at a mid-sized tech firm. A modest but clean apartment. A group of friends who insisted they loved him despite constantly pestering him to be less Tom. And of course, 3 older sisters who, despite being 5'0" whirlwinds of opinion and affection, still treated him as if he were the baby bird they once rescued from a gutter back in elementary school. Only this baby bird now stood at 6'2" and could lift all 3 of them at once if he wanted to. Not that it mattered. The lizard brain, as his dad used to say, had its own wiring. Once they've imprinted on you, son, that's it. You'll hear that mom voice until the day you die. Tom had tried arguing this logic once. Only once. The memory still haunted him. This afternoon, he sat on his couch, scrolling idly through an article about the history of medieval inks, because of course that was the sort of thing he found relaxing, when his phone buzzed violently. Not a ring. Not a ding. A buzz. That meant a group chat. He braced himself. Sisters United and Tom lit up his screen. Claire. Where are you? Danny. Why aren't you answering? Meg. We're coming up. Tom blinked. We're what? He didn't have time to stand before a rapid trio of knocks hammered on the door. Tommy. Open up. He winced. The mom voice. All 3 of them. Harmonized. He opened the door on instinct. Claire, the eldest and the undisputed general of the sibling unit, swept into his apartment first. Chestnut curls bouncing, tote bag slung across one shoulder. She looked around with narrowed eyes, as if searching for signs of decay or bachelor-induced entropy. Finding none, Tom kept the place impeccably neat. She hummed in approval. Danny entered next, tall by sister standards, though still nearly a foot shorter than Tom. She carried a plastic takeout bag like a peace offering. We brought dumplings. Meg, the youngest of the trio and the most dangerous, beamed. We came to check on your mental state. I was reading, Tom said. I'm fine. Meg peered at his phone. Is that an article about ink? It's historical. Claire crossed her arms. Tom, sweetie, you haven't left this apartment all weekend. It's Saturday. And yesterday, Danny added. And the day before that, Claire confirmed. That's 3 days, Meg helpfully supplied. Tom rubbed his forehead. I go to work every day. Can't a man relax in his own home? Sure, Meg said. If the relaxation doesn't start looking like emotional hibernation. I'm not hibernating. You are, Claire declared, sweeping past him to open a window as if letting in fresh air could fix his personality. And we've decided it's time. Time for what? Tom asked warily. Meg grinned. An intervention. Tom sat heavily on his couch. Oh no. Oh yes, Danny said, passing him a dumpling container as though sustaining him physically was part of the strategy. Claire perched on the armrest like a perched owl of judgment. Tom, you're lonely. I'm not lonely. You are lonely, all 3 said in unison. He sighed. He had walked right into that one. Meg leaned toward him. You need to meet people. I meet people. At work doesn't count, Claire said. Also the barista with the eyebrow piercing doesn't count, and you know why? Because you never actually speak to her. I say good morning. Tom, Danny said gently. Your social life is quieter than a monastery library. He opened his mouth, considered arguing, then closed it again. Okay, maybe I'm not the most exciting person. Claire softened. We're not saying you need to become someone else. Just open the door to possibilities. And we've already signed you up, Meg announced. Tom's head snapped up. Sign me up for what? Danny lifted a small glossy flyer from her purse and handed it to him. Community cooking class. Fun with fusion. Fridays at 7 p.m. He stared at it. You? Sign me up for a cooking class. Yes, Meg said brightly. It'll be great. Social. Fun. Hands-on. And if you set something on fire, you'll meet firefighters. Win-win. I don't want to meet firefighters. Then meet women, Claire said. Tom huffed. Why does everything have to be about dating? The sisters exchanged a collective look. One of those our sweet brother is tragically clueless looks. Danny pressed a hand to his knee. Tom, you're a catch. You really are, Meg added. A tall, polite, deeply thoughtful man? Women would line up for that. If they knew he existed, Claire muttered. Tom groaned and covered his face. I exist. You exist in the most boring possible way, Meg said cheerfully. And we love you so much we cannot let this continue. He peeked at them through his fingers. Dad warned me about interventions. Claire shrugged. Dad also thought Crocs were stylish. We pick what advice to keep. Tom dropped his hands. Look, I just don't want to go to something alone where I don't know anyone. It's uncomfortable, Danny guessed. Embarrassing, Meg offered. An opportunity, Claire finished firmly. Tom, sweetheart, you've spent your whole life learning how women think. Thanks to us, you're basically bilingual. I wouldn't call it bilingual. We would, Meg said. And now you're going to use that skill. Tom made a strangled noise. I didn't learn all that stuff to use it. I just wanted to survive childhood. Claire patted his shoulder. And now you will survive adulthood. You're going to that class. Tonight. He blinked. Tonight? That's barely a few hours from now. That's why we brought dumplings, Danny said. You need strength. And clean clothes, Meg added, already heading toward his bedroom. Don't touch anything in there, Tom shouted, scrambling to his feet. You can't stop me, she yelled back. Claire stood, satisfied. We'll help you pick something casual but charming. I don't want to be charming. You already are, Danny murmured kindly. You just don't aim it anywhere. Tom sank back into the couch, defeated by sheer sibling momentum. They meant well. They always meant well. And though they drove him up a wall, he loved them. They had protected him from scraped knees, heartbreak, bullies, and, ironically, women who weren't good for him. They'd also pinned him to the carpet more times than he cared to admit when he tried lying about finishing chores or sneaking extra snacks. He could still hear Claire's battle cry, "Get his feet!" No, resisting them was pointless. When Meg returned holding 2 shirts like a game show presenter, Tom sighed. Fine, I'll go. Danny squealed. Claire clapped. Meg threw a fist into the air like she'd achieved victory in a small war. Tom shook his head. But if I end up setting the kitchen on fire, I'm blaming all of you. Fair, Claire said. We'll accept that responsibility. And if I meet absolutely no one, then you'll have learned how to make fusion dumplings, Danny said. We'll take that as a win. And if I meet someone terrible? Great, Meg chirped. Then you'll have a funny story. Tom knew then that he had lost the battle long before they arrived. He glanced again at the flyer. Fun with fusion. The kind of cheesy tagline he would normally avoid like the plague. But as his sisters flitted around his apartment, straightening cushions, adjusting curtains, and rearranging his life with familiar affectionate chaos, he felt something loosen in his chest. Maybe it wouldn't be terrible. Maybe. Okay, he said quietly, almost to himself. I'll go. Claire heard him anyway. She beamed. Good. You're going to thank us for this. Tom doubted it. But he also didn't argue. After all, that mom voice was impossible to resist. Chapter 2, The Setup Gone Wrong. Tom arrived at the community center 10 minutes early, because of course he did. Being late made him feel itchy behind the ears, the way some people felt about mismatched socks. Punctuality had been drilled into him by a combination of his father's 5 minutes early is on time mantra and his sister's relentless scolding whenever he missed a family event by so much as a breath. The cooking classroom was warm, brightly lit, and smelled faintly of ginger and garlic. Stainless steel counters gleamed beneath overhead lights, and rows of cutting boards waited like expectant students. On one counter sat a large bowl of vegetables. Bell peppers, onions, mushrooms, zucchini, all recently washed and aggressively photogenic. Tom took a spot near the back, hoping to blend into the wall. Unfortunately, he was 6'2", which meant blending into anything required magic that simply wasn't available in the average suburban community center. He looked around. A handful of people trickled in. A couple in their late 50s who walked arm in arm, a guy wearing a t-shirt with a cartoon squid, 2 women carrying matching tote bags, and a man younger than Tom who seemed both excited and terrified in equal measure. Then she walked in. Lila. He didn't know her name yet, of course, but he would remember seeing her for the first time for reasons he couldn't articulate. Maybe it was the bright coppery hair piled into a loose knot on her head, or the way she carried herself, like she was in on a joke the rest of the world hadn't picked up on yet. She wore a navy cardigan over a soft green blouse, sleeves pushed up to the elbow, as if she were already prepared to cook, fight crime, or rescue a kitten from a tree. She scanned the room with quick, curious eyes, and then she saw him. She paused. One eyebrow arched. Tom immediately looked away. Great. Perfect. A flawless social performance. The instructor entered before Tom could recover. A cheerful man in his 40s wearing an apron that read fusion. Where culinary rules come to die. He clapped his hands. Welcome, everyone. I'm Mark, your guide through tonight's culinary chaos. Grab a partner, and we'll get started. Tom stiffened. Partner. An unfortunate requirement. People paired up quickly. The arm-in-arm couple stuck together. The tote bag twins claimed a station. Squid Guy teamed up with the terrified young man. Which left. The instructor looked around. Looks like you two will be together. Perfect. Tom followed the instructor's gaze and found Lila standing only a few feet away, arms crossed lightly, expression amused. She stepped toward him. Well, hello, partner. Her voice had a lilting quality, rich but playful, like someone who smiled while speaking even when the subject didn't warrant it. Tom nodded. Hi. A second passed. Then 2. She tilted her head. Is that it? Just hi? He swallowed. Do you want more than hi? Usually yes, she said. But I appreciate the minimalism. He blinked. Oh, she laughed. A light, warm sound that fell pleasantly into the space between them. Relax. I'm teasing. I'm Lila. Tom. Well, Tom. She extended her hand. Do you have any cooking experience? He shook her hand, trying to sound normal. Some. I can follow instructions. That's promising, she said. I tend to improvise. Last week, I accidentally invented a dessert my roommate described as structurally mysterious. Tom let out a small, involuntary laugh. Structurally mysterious? She refused to eat it, which was fair. It wobbled in ways nature doesn't intend. Sounds alarming. It was. Which is why I'm here. Mark called for attention again. All right, teams. Tonight we're making fusion stir-fry. You'll need to chop your vegetables, mix your sauces, and avoid maiming each other with knives. Let's begin. Lila grabbed an apron and tied it around her waist. You chopping or mixing? Either is fine, Tom said. She handed him a knife. Chopping it is. I'd like to preserve our limbs tonight. He nodded, moving toward the vegetables. He'd barely sliced the first bell pepper when Lila leaned in slightly. So, Tom, what brings you to a cooking class on a Friday night? Please say it's not a secret passion for julienning. He hesitated, weighing the truth against the embarrassment. My sisters signed me up. All three? She guessed instantly, surprising him. Yes, he said. How did you know? You give off strong youngest sibling energy. I don't even know what that means. It means, she said, tapping her spoon against her bowl. You look like a man who has spent his life being lovingly bossed around by shorter, louder people. Tom paused mid-slice. Okay, that's weirdly accurate. See, she pointed at him triumphantly. Youngest sibling energy. He shook his head with a reluctant smile. What about you? Why are you here? 2 reasons, she said. 1, I enjoy learning new things. 2, my best friend told me I'm too impatient to date and should practice teamwork. Tom coughed. Teamwork? In a cooking class? She thinks I'm too competitive. I once turned a board game night into a 6-person shouting match. And you blame the game? Absolutely, she said without hesitation. Monopoly destroys lives. He grinned. True. They worked side by side, falling into a comfortable rhythm. Tom chopped with efficient precision, while Lila mixed sauces with experimental flair, adding a dash of this and a splash of that. Careful, he said, watching her pour a generous amount of chili paste. That might be too much. She shrugged. Spice builds character. It also builds regret. Only for those who fear adventure, she teased. Tom wanted to argue, but she flashed a smile that made his brain forget how verbs worked. Halfway through the recipe, Mark wandered over. How's it going here? Great, Lila said brightly. Tom is doing all the sensible work, and I'm adding chaos. That's the spirit, Mark said. Fusion depends on balance. Tom nodded. We're working on that. Lila elbowed him lightly. He's afraid of my creativity. I'm afraid of bodily harm. You'll be fine, she said. Probably. Mark moved on, chuckling. They finished chopping and mixing, then transferred their ingredients to the sizzling pan. Lila stirred with gusto. Too much gusto. A puff of flour from the counter drifted into the air just as she swung around to grab the soy sauce. The cloud hit Tom square in the face. He froze. She gasped. Oh my, Tom. I'm so sorry. He blinked through the flour. It's fine. It is not fine. You look like a confused ghost. Tom wiped his face with his sleeve. Just a minor dusting. Lila pressed her hands to her mouth, and then began to laugh. Hard. Her shoulders shook. You look... Oh no, I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry. But you look like someone tried to summon a spirit and accidentally got you instead. Tom laughed too, despite himself. Well, that's new. Her laughter softened. You have a good sense of humor. Not always, he said. But tonight seems to be an exception. Their stir-fry finished cooking, and the group gathered to sample each other's dishes. Lila and Tom's creation was surprisingly delicious. Just spicy enough, perfectly tender vegetables, and a sauce that balanced heat with sweetness. Lila grinned at him as they ate. Look at that. We make a good team. Tom felt a warmth that had nothing to do with chili paste. Yeah, he said quietly. We do. When class ended, people gathered their belongings. Lila slipped her cardigan on and turned to him. Well, partner, she said. Same time next week? Tom blinked. There's a next week? She laughed softly. Yes, Tom. It's a 6-week course. Oh, right. Yes. I'll be here. Good, she said, and her smile softened just a fraction. See you then. She walked toward the door, hair glowing under the overhead lights, leaving Tom standing there with the wild, disorienting realization that meeting her had felt strangely easy. And that was new, too. Chapter 3, Interference and Stirring Trouble. Tom woke the next morning feeling lighter than he expected, like someone had opened an unseen window in his life and let in a bit of fresh, mischievous air. He stood in front of his bathroom mirror, toothbrush hanging from his mouth, replaying fragments from the cooking class. Lila's laugh, her eyebrow quirk, the way she'd said, well, hello, partner, like an invitation and a challenge in one. It had been a long time since a conversation left his brain buzzing in a pleasant way instead of an exhausted one. His phone chimed. He didn't need psychic powers to know who it was. Claire, how was class? Danny, did you talk to people? Meg, did you meet anyone cute? Eyes fire. Tom spat toothpaste into the sink. Here we go. He typed carefully. Tom, it was fine. Meg, fine? Danny, that's what he says when he's hiding something. Claire, pictures. Now, Tom stared at the phone. Pictures? Of what? Vegetables? Flour on his face? He set the phone down and finished getting ready, hoping the interrogation would wear off if he ignored it long enough. Didn't. By the time he left his apartment, the group chat had mutated into a three-way analysis of his emotional evasiveness, complete with emojis that implied disappointment, speculation, and the occasional unicorn. He pocketed the phone with a sigh. He'd tell them eventually. Maybe. Probably. Preferably after they forgot they asked. But the universe, in all its dramatic timing, had other plans. At lunchtime, while Tom was microwaving leftover stir-fry in the company break room, he heard the unmistakable sound of Meg's voice behind him. Tommy Parks. He whipped around. What? Why? How are you here? Meg strutted in like she owned the building. I texted you and you didn't answer. That does not justify breaking into my workplace. I didn't break in, she said, indignant. I told the front desk I was your sister and that it was an emergency. What emergency? That you're hiding information from us. Tom groaned. Meg. She leaned on the counter. So, did you meet anyone? He grabbed his lunch before she could steal that too. Possibly. Her eyes lit up like someone plugged her into a power source. Define possibly. Tom hesitated. I met someone named Lila. We cooked together. Meg gasped so loudly the microwave beeped early. Tom, that's adorable. It wasn't adorable. It was a class. Did you flirt? No. Did she? Tom paused. I don't know. Meg squinted at him. Was there laughing? Yes. Eye contact. Yes. Accidental touching? He cleared his throat. She elbowed me, but in a teasing way. Oh my God. Meg nearly levitated. You had a meet cute. It wasn't a meet cute, Tom insisted, though his voice lacked conviction. It was a cooking mishap. That is a meet cute. Meg grabbed her phone. Claire and Danny need to hear this. Meg, no, please don't. Too late. She was typing furiously. Meg. Tom met someone named Lila OMGGG. Claire. Call. Now. Danny. This is not a drill. Tom covered his face. You're going to suffocate the joy out of this before it even becomes anything. Meg's expression softened. Tom. Sweetie. We're excited for you, that's all. I know, he muttered. Just, don't get carried away. Me? Meg asked innocently. Never. She left 2 minutes later. Tom did not trust that exit for a second. Tom's suspicion was validated in less than 24 hours. The following evening Sunday, he found his sister sitting on his couch like three judgmental cats waiting for a mouse to confess its crimes. Claire was organizing papers on her lap as if preparing legal arguments. Danny was knitting something in pastel yarn that looked like it might eventually become a scarf. Meg was eating popcorn. Dramatically, Tom froze in the doorway. Why are you here? Family meeting, Claire said crisply. I didn't schedule one. We did. Meg tossed popcorn into her mouth. Now sit. He sat. One did not disobey the mom voice. Claire began. Thomas Parks, we are happy, thrilled, that you met someone. Please stop using my full name. If you're going to be dramatic, Claire said. We will too. Danny leaned forward. Tell us about her. Tom exhaled slowly. There's not much to tell. Her name's Lila. She's funny. She's lively. Meg squealed. Danny clapped. Claire tried to look professional but her eyes sparkled. And, Tom added, I'm going to see her again next Friday. That's all. Claire cleared her throat. So you are interested? Tom hesitated. I might be. This was a mistake. Because the moment he said it, the sisters launched into a swirling storm of strategy, analysis, and unsolicited preparation advice. You should bring pastries, Danny suggested. No flowers, Claire countered. Bring neither, Meg argued. Play it cool. You need a plan, Claire insisted. You need to relax, Danny said. You need new shirts, Meg added. We need to run through conversation scenarios, Claire declared. We absolutely do not, Tom said firmly. He stood. I appreciate your enthusiasm, truly, but I'm handling this. All three sisters stared at him. Meg blinked. Handling it how? By being myself. Claire winced. Are you sure? Yes, Tom said. I like who I am. Lila seems to as well. His sisters exchanged glances, assessing, processing, recalibrating. Danny smiled first. Okay, if you're confident, we'll step back. Meg nodded reluctantly. Fine, but text us updates. No, one update, Danny bargained. Per week, Claire clarified. One emoji, Meg added. Tom groaned. Absolutely not. His sister sighed dramatically, but let the topic rest, for now. They shifted to movie night. Tom relaxed, grateful for the reprieve. But as the credits rolled, he couldn't shake the sense that his sisters were planning something behind the scenes. They were quiet, too quiet, and whispering on their phones. He didn't trust that either. Friday arrived faster than Tom expected. He arrived to class a few minutes early again, leaning against the counter, palms slightly sweaty despite his best efforts to stay calm. The door opened. Lila breezed in, cheeks rosy from the chilly air, expression brightening the moment she spotted him. "Well, hello again, partner." Tom smiled without thinking this time. "Hey!" She slid into place beside him. "Ready for tonight's challenge?" "Define ready." "Excellent," she said. "That means no, which means this will be fun." Before Tom could reply, a shadow moved near the window. He glanced up. His heart dropped. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." Because pressed to the glass like raccoons observing a picnic were Claire, Danny, and Meg, wearing sunglasses at night and waving. Lila followed his gaze. Tom? Are those?" "My sisters," he said, dying internally. "They're enthusiastic." Lila burst into laughter. "They came to spy on you." "Yes. That's adorable." "It is mortifying." "Oh, absolutely," she said. "But adorable." As the sisters attempted to crouch, terribly, behind a bush, Lila leaned closer and whispered conspiratorially, "So, am I supposed to wave back?" "Please don't," he begged. She waved anyway. Behind the glass, 3 women lost their minds in synchronized excitement. Tom buried his face in his hands. "This is my actual nightmare." Lila patted his arm. "Don't worry. I like them already." "You do. They care," she said simply. "That's a good sign." He exhaled. Maybe it was. Chapter 4. The date that wasn't one. Tom spent most of the following week pretending he was calm, collected, and fully in control of his life. This, of course, was a lie so flimsy that even strangers on the street would have suspected something was amiss. Every so often, while typing at work or waiting for the elevator, fragments of last week's cooking class replayed in his mind. Lila's bright smile, her elbow nudging him, her easy laughter, the way she waved to his sisters like it was the most natural thing in the world. His sisters, unfortunately, had not forgotten that part. On Thursday evening, as Tom attempted to eat a quiet dinner alone, the group chat exploded. Meg, Susu, Claire, reminder, cooking class tomorrow, Danny, wear something flattering, 2 hearts, Tom, I always wear clothes, Meg, but do you wear good clothes? Tom, goodbye. He silenced the chat, which meant he got 30 seconds of peace before Meg started calling. He declined. She called again. He declined. She called a 3rd time. He sighed and answered. "What? Tom," Meg said dramatically. Lila waved at us. "That means she's into you." "No," Tom said. "It means she has functioning arms." Meg scoffed. "You sweet, clueless giraffe of a man." Tom hung up before she could continue. Friday evening arrived with a nervous flutter he refused to acknowledge. He entered the cooking classroom at the same time Lila did, an accidental coincidence that made her eyebrows lift playfully. "Well, well," she said, stepping beside him. "Arriving together now? People will talk." He cleared his throat. "About what?" She smiled. "Tom, that was a joke." "Oh, right, yes, I knew that." "You absolutely did not." She bumped his arm with hers as they walked in. Tonight's recipe involved homemade dumplings, something that sounded simple, but Mark, their instructor, had warned them could reveal the depth of a person's soul. "I feel like this man has unresolved issues with dumplings," Lila whispered. "Possibly trauma," Tom whispered back. They tied on their aprons, set out their ingredients, and fell into a familiar rhythm. Lila handled the creative seasoning. Tom followed the rules with the kind of methodical precision one normally associated with surgeons or people defusing bombs. "Okay," Lila said, placing a thin circle of dough in front of him. "Time to fold." Tom attempted a fold, collapsed. "That is not right," she said carefully. "It resembles a dumpling. It resembles a sad purse." He tried again. This one tore in half. Lila pressed her lips together. "Tom, sweetheart, what is happening?" "I don't know," he whispered, horrified. "My hands are betraying me." She laughed until she had to lean on the counter. "You're adorable." Tom froze. The word came out so casually, like she said it without thinking. Adorable. He tried to focus, but his ears felt warm and his stomach suddenly forgot how gravity worked. Lila seemed oblivious to the chaos in his internal organs. "Here," she said, guiding his fingers gently. "Fold it like this, like a little half moon, then pinch the edges." Her hands steadied his. He hoped she couldn't feel how fast his pulse was racing. "There," she said. "Perfect." When she looked up, her smile softened in a way that made his chest tighten. "See? You can learn." He swallowed. "You're a good teacher. And you're a good listener," she said. "It's rare." He opened his mouth to reply, and failed to notice the flour canister sitting precariously close to the edge of the counter. When his elbow brushed against it, the entire thing toppled with the commitment of a Greek tragedy. The cloud erupted upward, right into Lila. She froze, covered head to waist in a uniform dusting like a disgruntled snowman. Then very slowly, she blinked. Tom stared at her. Lila, I'm so... Don't, she said, raising a finger. Don't you dare apologize. I need a moment. A full moment. Her eye twitched. Tom waited, heart thumping. And then it happened. The moment her composure cracked and laughter burst out like someone uncorked it. She doubled over, shaking, breathless. Oh my, Tom, you made me a ghost. He let out an embarrassed groan. I panicked. I'm sorry. She wiped her eyes, still laughing. No, no. This is the best thing that's happened to me all week. He blinked. Really? Absolutely. I've always wanted to haunt a community center. He exhaled in relief, tension melting from his shoulders. Mark walked over, took one look at Lila, and burst into sympathetic chuckles. Ah, the flower initiation. Classic. It's a rite of passage now? Tom muttered. Sure, Mark said. Let's go with that. Class ended earlier than usual, and Lila lingered as people packed their things. She tugged her cardigan on, still dusted with faint streaks of flour, and turned to him with an expression that was less playful and more tentative. Hey, she said. There's an art fair downtown tomorrow. My friend is showing some pieces. I'm supposed to go, but it's always more fun with company. Tom blinked. Company? Her smile twitched. Yes, Tom. That means you. Oh, his heartbeat jumped. Like a date. She paused just for a second, then lifted a shoulder casually. If you want it to be. Or it can be two cooking class partners doing research for future recipes. Whatever makes you comfortable. Whatever makes you comfortable. His sisters would have combusted on the spot. Tom considered the offer, weighed the meaning behind it, replayed her phrasing far too many times in the span of a single heartbeat. I'd like to go, he said at last. With you. Her expression brightened, real, unhindered. Great, she said. Tomorrow at noon? Yes. Then it's a date, she said, gently, deliberately, before stepping back. See you then. Tom stood rooted to the spot long after she left, trying to comprehend the enormous, earth-shaking fact that someone like Lila had just asked him out. His sisters were going to explode. He was halfway home before it occurred to him. He had no idea what one wore to an art fair. He also had no idea how to tell his sisters without them forming a parade. He sighed. One crisis at a time. Chapter 5. Tom translates himself. Saturday morning arrived with a quiet glow. The kind of sunshine that implied nothing dramatic would happen today. Tom didn't trust it. Sunshine had been wrong before. He stood in front of his closet, a growing sense of doom spreading through his chest as he stared at row after row of button-downs that all looked exactly the same. Blue, gray. A brave attempt at maroon he bought during a try new things phase. Why? He muttered at the shirts. Are you all so incredibly boring? If his closet had feelings, it might have apologized. He opened the group chat. Not because he wanted advice, but because he needed to know how dangerous his sisters currently were. The answer arrived instantly. Claire, morning. What time is your date? Danny, we mean art fair research outing smiling face with halo. Meg, send outfit options. We'll approve. Or reject. Mostly reject. Tom sighed. Tom, I'm not sending you pictures. Meg, coward. Claire, irresponsible coward. Danny, sweet coward Redheart. He closed the chat before they escalated to an in-person appearance. After 20 minutes of agonizing over shirts, he finally chose a soft forest green button-down. One his sisters had bought him during a family trip, insisting green makes your eyes actually visible. He checked his reflection. Okay, he told himself. You look fine. Not incredible. Not artistic. Not tragic. Just fine. And maybe that was enough. He arrived at the art fair with 5 minutes to spare. Colorful tents stretched in rows. The air filled with the mingled scents of kettle corn and acrylic paint. People drifted by in scarves and sunglasses and outfits that looked like they'd been curated by someone with a subscription to Effortless Aesthetic Monthly. Tom shoved his hands in his pockets. He could survive this. He had survived worse. He had survived growing up with 3 older sisters, after all. He spotted Lila before she saw him, standing near a booth displaying modern sculpture that resembled distressed slinkies. She wore a denim jacket over a soft cream shirt, her copper hair tumbling past her shoulders in loose waves today. As she listened to the booth artist speak, she nodded earnestly, hands tucked into her jacket pockets. She looked warm, and bright, and alive in a way that made Tom's chest tighten. Then she looked up and noticed him. Her face lit, actually lit, not metaphorically. It was very close to physically glowing. Tom, she called, waving. He walked over, trying not to smile too widely, and failing. Hi, hi, she echoed with a grin. You made it. Of course, he said. I said I would. True, she teased. But some people say things and then vanish into mysterious voids. Do you meet people who vanish often? More than you'd think, she said. Luckily, you seem distinctly non-void-like. I try. She laughed. A clean, delighted sound that made the fair feel suddenly brighter. Okay, she said, stepping closer. Ground rules. 1. If we see something confusing, we point it out instead of pretending we understand it. Agreed. 2. If my friend Emily asks if we're dating, don't panic. She asks everyone that. I'll do my best. And 3. She paused, looking at him with a curious softness. Enjoy it. Don't overthink. He opened his mouth to deny that he overthought anything. He closed it again. Reasonable rules, he said instead. Good, she said, and her smile widened. Let's go. They walked through the fair in easy stride. Lila led him to Emily's booth, a display of vibrant, swirling abstract paintings. Emily, a petite woman with blunt bangs and a paint-splattered apron, perked up at the sight of them. Lila, she said happily. And, oh, is this him? Lila immediately tensed. Emily. No. Emily ignored her. Hi him. I'm Emily. Tom, he said, offering a handshake. Emily took it with both hands, nodding with the solemn enthusiasm of a golden retriever. So how long have you two been together? Tom made a sound that might have been a laugh or a dying exhale. Lila groaned. Emily, we talked about this. What? Emily said innocently. He looks like the kind of man you bring to meet your relatives. Why would that be your first thought? Lila demanded. Emily shrugged. He has nice shoulders. Tom blinked. Thank you. Don't encourage her, Lila warned. Emily waved her away. I like you already, Tom. Tell me your top 3 favorite colors. Tom froze. Lila whispered behind her hand. She interrogates everyone she approves of. He straightened slightly. A green. Blue. He hesitated. Emily leaned forward. And the third? Black? Emily's grin grew triumphant. You passed. I did. He did not, Lila corrected. You just like him. Emily winked at him. You're welcome. Tom decided he liked Emily, mostly because she seemed to enjoy unsettling Lila. After politely browsing her canvases, which were genuinely stunning, Tom and Lila drifted back into the fair. Lila exhaled dramatically. Sorry about her. She thinks she's subtle. She's not, Tom said. I know. Lila nudged him. You handled it well. I've survived my sisters, Tom said. Emily is gentle compared to them. You really do adore your sisters, don't you? Yes. He didn't hesitate. Most days. She smiled at that. I like that. They stopped at a booth selling hand-thrown pottery. Lila picked up a small ceramic mug painted with tiny dancing foxes. This is the cutest thing I've ever seen, she declared. Tom looked at the mug, then at her. Really? Ever? Ever? She said. Top tier. Possibly undefeatable. He considered her expression. Genuine, childlike delight, and something warm swelled in him. You should get it, he said. She blinked. What? No, I wasn't trying to. I know, he said gently. But you like it. She bit her lip. I shouldn't buy every cute thing I see. Aspirational minimalism? He guessed. Exactly. He held her gaze a moment. I'll get it for you then. Her eyes widened. What? No, Tom. But he was already paying for it. When he handed her the bag, she stared at him like he'd handed her a small universe. That was very sweet, she said, voice softer. You didn't have to. I know. She swallowed. Thank you. The moment stretched, a quiet, warm energy flickering between them. Then she cleared her throat. Okay. Onward before I accidentally kiss you out of gratitude. Tom choked. What? What? She said, wide-eyed. Oh look, kettle corn. He followed, stunned, as she power-walked toward a food stall with extreme determination. Accidentally kiss you out of gratitude. His brain replayed it in 12 different accents. He suspected he would die someday with that sentence still echoing in his skull. They spent another hour wandering the fair, talking about everything from childhood disasters to the best and worst seasonal ice cream flavors. Tom found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't expected. There was something freeing about Lila's energy, bright but not overwhelming, unpredictable but grounding. She seemed genuinely interested in what he said. Even when he rambled about obscure topics, she didn't zone out. She asked questions, teased him, pulled thoughts out of him he didn't know he wanted to share. Felt easy, effortless, and rare. At one point, as they stood at a booth selling prints of whimsical cityscapes, Lila lightly brushed her arm against his. Not by accident this time. He turned. She held his gaze. You know, she said quietly, you're really good company. Tom swallowed. Thank you. You don't have to be nervous around me, she said gently. I'm not nervous. You are, she said with a knowing softness. But it's okay. Am I that obvious? Only a little. She smiled. I like it. A breeze drifted past them, carrying the scent of kettle corn and sunshine and something unnameable, like possibility. Maybe. Tom exhaled slowly. I like today. Her expression softened. Me too. They walked back toward the parking area together. It wasn't late, but the fair had begun to glow with early evening warmth. Lila stopped beside her car and turned to him. So, she said, lightly rocking back on her heels. Did you enjoy your research outing? Yes, Tom said, and then surprised himself by adding, more than I expected. Her lips curved. Good. A brief silence fell, comfortable but charged. So, she said again, slower this time. Next week's cooking class? I'll be there. Good, she whispered. For a moment she seemed to consider closing the distance between them. But then she stepped back, almost shy. See you Friday, partner. See you, he said. She slipped into her car, gave him one last small smile, and drove away. Tom stood there long after the taillights vanished, breath unsteady, heart loud, mind full. He realized something then, an unexpected truth that felt like a shift inside him. He didn't want to simply understand Lila's world. He wanted to step into it. And for the first time in a long time, he wasn't translating someone else's emotions. He was translating his own. Chapter 6, the almost confession. By the time Friday rolled around again, Tom was both ready and absolutely not ready for cooking class. The week had crawled by with the slow, teasing pace of someone flipping through radio stations just to antagonize him. Every free moment had been a loop of his afternoon at the art fair. Lila's smile, her warmth, the way she'd said it's a date like it wasn't a big deal. It was a very big deal. He arrived early, again, hoping to calm his nerves by prepping ingredients or aligning cutting boards or performing some other menial task that would prevent his brain from sprinting in circles. Instead, he found Lila leaning against their cooking station, arms crossed, watching him with an unreadable little smile. You're early, she said. So are you, he replied. She shrugged. Maybe I was hoping you'd get here early. He blinked. Oh, her smile widened. Relax. I'm teasing. But her eyes said she wasn't completely teasing. Tom set down his bag and started tying his apron. She stepped in beside him, reaching for the flower bowl that had been his downfall last week. No flower explosions today, she warned. I make no promises. I like your honesty, she said brightly. Mark clapped his hands at the front of the room. Tonight, we venture into the world of dumpling fillings. Bold flavors, creative combinations, mild risks of emotional meltdown, all part of the process. A few students laughed nervously. Lila nudged Tom. Let's not melt down. I mean, statistically, Tom. He exhaled. Right? No meth. Got it. As class began, they fell into their usual rhythm, but tonight something felt different, closer, sharper. Every moment seemed tinged with awareness, of the way her fingers brushed his when she handed him a spoon, or the way she leaned closer when she laughed, or how her shoulder stayed just close enough to touch his without actually doing it. She smelled faintly like citrus and something soft and warm underneath it. Tom tried not to notice. He failed miserably. They chopped vegetables and blended spices, each movement thick with the unspoken. Lila kept stealing glances at him. Not teasing glances, not mischievous glances, but something gentler, more searching. Twice he caught her looking at him like she was about to say something important. Twice she stopped. The third time she didn't. Hey, she said quietly, as the class stirred around them. Can I ask you something? Tom's pulse leapt. Sure. She took a breath. Last Saturday at the art fair, I felt like we connected. Did you? His knife paused mid-slice. Yes, he said, voice steadier than he felt. I did. She nodded, almost relieved. Good. Because Thomas Parks. Tom nearly sliced his thumb off. No, no, no. He turned slowly, like someone turning to face fate, and found all three of his sisters standing in the doorway. They were supposed to be somewhere harmless, like home, or the moon. Instead, they marched toward him with synchronized determination. Claire in front, Danny behind her, Meg waving frantically like he'd won a contest he never entered. Lila blinked. Oh, the raccoons returned. Tom groaned. Please, not now. Claire reached him first, hands on her hips. Thomas, why didn't you tell us you had a date? This is a cooking class, Tom said through clenched teeth. Not a date. Meg snorted. Oh my God. Look at her face. It's totally a date. Danny nodded approvingly. Definitely date vibes. Lila, to her immense credit, did not panic, flee, or pretend she'd mistaken Tom for someone else. Instead, she straightened her shoulders and smiled. Hi, I'm Lila. Claire immediately launched into interrogation mode. How long have you known our brother? 3 weeks. Do you like him? Tom made a strangled noise. Claire. Lila didn't flinch. Yes, I do. Meg squealed like a boiling kettle. Danny clapped her hands. Claire exhaled sharply, like she'd been hoping for that exact answer. Well, Claire said briskly, we won't interrupt your evening. We just want to make sure Tom isn't hiding important developments. I wasn't hiding anything, Tom protested. Meg placed a hand on his left bicep. Sweetie, you absolutely were. Lila laughed quietly under her breath. Claire stepped back satisfied. Carry on, you two. With that, the three of them left, back out the door in a dramatic procession, whispering giddily as they disappeared into the hallway. Tom pressed the heels of his hands to his temples. I'm so sorry. For what? Lila said, still smiling. For everything they just did? They're protective, she said gently. It's kind of sweet. Sweet like a tornado, Tom muttered. She nudged his arm. Hey, relax. They care about you. That's a good sign. He looked at her, tired but grateful. I didn't want them to ruin, whatever this is. They didn't ruin anything, she said. In fact, her voice softened. I liked your answer. My answer. You said you felt a connection. Her eyes held his. I did too. Before he could respond, Mark called out, Teams, bring your plates up. Lila smiled apologetically. We should, right? Tom said, heart still thundering. Of course. They plated their dumplings, the least romantic task imaginable, and walked them to the front table. Class continued as normal, but the atmosphere around them had shifted. Something had almost happened. Something important. After class ended, Lila lingered beside him as students filtered out. Tom, she said softly. He turned. Yeah. I meant to say more earlier. Before your sisters arrived. He swallowed. Me too. She stepped closer. Close enough that he felt the warmth radiating from her. I like spending time with you. More than I expected to. More than I've liked spending time with anyone in a while. Tom's chest tightened. Lila. She waited. And for a moment, just one, he felt brave enough to close the distance. Brave enough to say what had been simmering inside him all week. Brave enough to step toward her. Tom! He deflated like a dying balloon. Mark waved a clipboard. I need your signature before you go. Lila winced. Ouch. Terrible timing. Tom forced a tight smile. Seems to be a theme. She touched his arm lightly. We'll finish this conversation. Soon. He nodded. But when he returned from signing the form, she was already at the door, caught by a tide of other students. She gave him an apologetic smile, mouthed text me, and disappeared into the night. Tom stood alone in the quiet classroom, pulse still racing, words still trapped behind his teeth. An almost confession, an almost kiss, an almost moment. It wasn't enough. He wanted more. For once in his life, he didn't want to translate other people's emotions. He wanted to say his own. Chapter 7. Breaking the pattern. Tom spent most of Saturday doubting his entire life. Not the useful parts like his career or his hobbies or the existence of gravity. No, he doubted something far more inconvenient. His ability to sustain a functioning romantic moment without an interruption orchestrated by the three furies who shared his DNA. Every time he replayed last night in his head, he got stuck on the moment when he had been seconds away from saying something real, something honest, something that felt terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. And then Claire, Danny, and Meg crashed through the door like suburban mythological creatures. An almost confession. Interrupted. An almost kiss. Derailed. An almost moment. Stolen. And Lila had seen all of it. His sisters, their ridiculous spectacle, and his own paralysis in the wake of it. By noon, Tom had reached the dangerous emotional state known as mildly fed up. For him, this was the equivalent of a normal person flipping a table. He paced his living room until his phone buzzed. Predictably. Sisters United and Tom Meg. Sue, how'd the almost kiss go? Smirking face. Danny? Did she run away? Claire, we need a debrief. Tom stared at the screen. Then, in a moment of unprecedented courage, recklessness, he typed, Tom, family meeting. My place. 2 p.m. Meg. Oh, Danny. This feels serious. Claire, we'll be there. He set his phone down and inhaled deeply. He loved his sisters. He did. But they had turned his romantic life into a group project he had never signed up for. And it was time, finally, impossibly, for him to set a boundary. He spent the next half hour rehearsing, and revising, and questioning every word. He was halfway through editing his motivational speech when the door rattled with 3 rapid knocks. Tom opened the door. All 3 sisters barreled inside like they expected to find him on the floor in emotional shambles. This better not be an intervention, Meg said dramatically. It's not, Tom said. That's what people say right before interventions, Danny whispered. Claire folded her arms. What's going on? Tom took a breath, a real one, deep and steady. I need you to stop interfering with my relationship. The room froze. Meg's mouth opened. Danny blinked rapidly. Claire's eyebrows rose so high they nearly escaped her forehead. Tom continued, even though his heart was pounding hard enough to rattle his sternum. I love you all, he said. You've always been there for me. You've protected me and supported me and shoved yourselves into my business with the force of a small hurricane. Meg winced. Ouch. Accurate, but ouch. And I'm grateful, Tom said. I am. But last night, I was about to say something important to Lila. Something vulnerable. And you burst in. Claire shifted uncomfortably. We were excited. I know, Tom said. But you can't keep doing that. I'm not 12 anymore. I can handle my own relationship. The sisters exchanged a long look, a complicated, wordless conversation only siblings could have. Danny sat down and hugged a pillow. We didn't think you'd actually fall for someone. You've always been so careful, Meg added softly. So cautious. Claire exhaled. We wanted to help. And maybe we pushed too hard. Tom softened at that. You didn't push. You steamrolled. Meg raised a hand. Fair. Danny nodded. Very fair. Claire tried to smile. Okay, Tommy. We hear you. Tom blinked. You do. We do, she said. We'll back off. Meg winced. A little. No, Tom said firmly. A lot. Claire nodded again, slower this time. You're right. We need to let you do this your way. Tom felt something ease inside him, something that had been tight and tense for years without him noticing. He let out a breath. Thank you. Danny beamed. Does this mean you're in love? Tom choked. What? No. I didn't say that. Meg gasped theatrically. He didn't deny it. Tom groaned. This is why we needed a meeting. His sisters left after promising, threatening but with affection, to monitor from a respectful distance. The afternoon passed quietly. By evening, Tom sat on his couch, replaying the conversation he'd had with Lila before everything derailed. He thought about her expression. Open, hopeful, waiting. He thought about what he wanted to say, what he almost said. And then, without thinking too hard, a miracle, he grabbed his phone. He typed a simple message. Tom, can we talk tomorrow? Her reply came less than a minute later. Lila, yes, of course. Lila, noon? Coffee? Somewhere quiet? He exhaled. Tom, perfect. He put his phone down and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow, he'd say how he felt. For real this time. No interruptions. No almost moments. No translating or deflecting. Just truth. Sunday arrived with a nervous energy that settled beneath Tom's skin like static. The cafe was small and cozy, decorated with mismatched chairs and artwork from local painters. He arrived early again, but this time it wasn't nervous habit. It was intention. He wanted to collect himself before Lila arrived. He had rehearsed exactly 0 speeches. That felt right. When she entered the cafe, the entire room seemed to quiet for him. She wore a soft teal sweater and jeans, hair loose around her shoulders, cheeks slightly flushed from the cold. She spotted him instantly. Her smile, warm, a little hesitant, hit him like sunlight. Hi, she said as she sat down. Hi. A moment passed, full but tense. Then Lila folded her hands on the table. So, yesterday you said you wanted to talk. Tom nodded. Yeah. She tilted her head slightly. Is everything okay? Yes, he said. Better than okay, actually. I just needed to tell you something. Her expression softened. I'm listening. Tom inhaled. The air smelled like cinnamon and espresso. His heart beat somewhere near his throat. I really like you, he said simply. More than I expected to. More than I know how to handle, honestly. Lila's breath caught just slightly. And last night, he continued, I was going to say something, before my sisters showed up like a traveling circus. She laughed softly. They are memorable. I'm sorry they barged in, Tom said. But what I wanted to tell you was this. I want to keep seeing you. Not just as cooking partners. Not just as almost something. I want to see where this goes. For real. Lila stared at him for a moment. Eyes bright, lips parted softly in surprise. Then a slow, blooming smile appeared. That's exactly what I wanted too, she said quietly. Tom exhaled, tension melting from his shoulders. Yeah, she whispered. She reached across the table, hesitant, but deliberate, and rested her hand lightly on his. Tom's pulse jumped. Her thumb brushed the back of his hand. You didn't have to say it perfectly. You just had to say it. He swallowed. I'm new at this. I can tell, she teased. Is that bad? No, she said, threading her fingers with his. It's charming. He felt heat rise to his cheeks. I'm trying. I know. They sat there, hands linked, quiet settling around them like a warm blanket. For the first time, nothing interrupted them. No flower explosions. No catastrophes. No sisters smashing through doors. Just them. Just honesty. Just the beginning of something that no longer felt like an almost. Chapter 8, The Grand Gesture, Tom style. Tom had never been the type to make bold romantic moves. He wasn't the grand gesture sort. He wasn't the type who delivered speeches in the rain, or held up boomboxes outside windows, or performed public choreographed dances with the reckless confidence of someone who had never sprained an ankle. But Sunday's conversation with Lila had shifted something deep in him, like a puzzle piece sliding into place after years of not quite fitting. He wanted to show her what he felt. Not with drama. Not with spectacle. Just sincerely. Which, unfortunately, was much harder than it sounded. All week, he worked through the days with a kind of quiet determination. At night, he found himself thinking about Lila's laughter, the way she bit her lip when she concentrated, how she listened, truly listened, when he spoke. The ease between them, the spark. By Thursday, he had a plan. A small one. A simple one. A Tom-style gesture, as he mentally labeled it. It began with a trip to a small local craft shop and ended with him sitting at his kitchen table, hunched over his work like a medieval scribe illuminating a manuscript. He hoped, desperately, that she would understand. Friday evening arrived crisp and clear. Community center parking lot. Same time as always. But this time, Tom wasn't early to hide his nerves. He was early because he couldn't wait. He stood just inside the door, holding the small wrapped package he'd carried around all day like it was made of glass. Moments later, Lila walked in, brushing wind-tousled hair from her face. When she spotted him, her expression shifted, brightened, softened. "Hi," she said, already smiling. "Hi." She took a step closer. "You look extra upbeat tonight." "I might be," he admitted. "Well," she teased, "should I be concerned?" "No, not at all." "Should I be excited?" "Maybe," he said, and her smile deepened. Before she could ask more, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out the small package, neatly wrapped in muted blue paper and tied with a piece of twine. Lila blinked. "What's this?" "I made something for you." "You made something?" "Yes." She looked genuinely touched, and a little surprised. "Can I open it?" "Please." She untied the twine, peeled back the paper carefully, as if worried she might damage the contents. When she lifted the lid of the small box, her breath hitched. Inside was a tiny, hand-painted ceramic fox mug, but not purchased, not store-bought, not perfect. Instead, it was clearly made by hand, slightly uneven, glazed in warm orange and cream, with two small painted foxes dancing around the sides in a wobbly pattern that was unmistakably Tom's careful, earnest work. Lila stared at it, and then looked up at him, eyes bright, voice soft. "You made this?" "Yes," he said, trying not to fidget. I found a studio that lets you make small pieces, and I remembered how much you liked the fox mug from the fair, so I thought, well, I could try to make one. A version of one." "You thought you could make one?" she repeated, sounding half stunned, half delighted. "I didn't say it would be good," he said quickly, his ears warming. "But I wanted it to be from me, not just something bought." "Tom," she whispered. "It's perfect." "It's not perfect," he corrected, because even he could see the glaze had a questionable lump on one side. "It's perfect," she said again, firmer this time, "because you made it. For me." She held the mug carefully, like it was precious, then stepped closer, close enough that he could feel the warmth radiating from her. "I love it," she said. "Really?" He exhaled in relief, and she laughed softly at his visible tension melting away. Then, in a sudden shift of energy, she looked up at him with that bright, teasing confidence he was growing to adore. "So," she said, "does this count as a romantic gesture?" "Depends," he said, "on whether it works." "Oh, it works," she said. Before he could fully process those words, she rose onto her toes, cupped his jaw with her free hand, and kissed him. It wasn't dramatic or cinematic. It wasn't rainstorms or sweeping music. It was warm and tender and intentional. A kiss with meaning behind it. A kiss filled with everything they'd almost said in flower-covered kitchens and art fair crowds. Tom inhaled sharply in surprise, then kissed her back, hands landing lightly at her waist, careful and steady. When they separated, she stayed close, foreheads nearly touching, lips still curved in a smile. "That," she said softly, "was overdue." His voice was low. "Yeah, it was." They stood like that for a moment, wrapped in the quiet of the room around them. Then Mark burst into the doorway. "Ah, you two are early," he said. "And very close. That's wonderful. Love it. Carry on. Pretend I wasn't here." Both Tom and Lila jolted 3 feet apart. Mark, oblivious to the chaos he'd caused, wandered away humming something off-key. Lila pressed her hand to her face. "Oh my God." Tom tried very hard not to laugh. "I think we've been caught." "We will not speak of this," she declared. "Agreed." But then she reached out and took his hand, quietly, naturally. He squeezed back, equally natural. "Well," she said, lifting the mug again, "this definitely counts as a grand gesture." "Tom's style grand," he corrected. "The best style," she said gently. His heart did a small, disobedient flip. "Ready for class?" she asked, slipping her fingers between his. "More than ever." They walked toward their cooking station, hands intertwined, an unspoken understanding settling between them. This wasn't the almost anything phase anymore. This was the beginning, the real beginning of something shared, something worth stepping into together. Chapter 9, New Language, Shared. Tom hadn't expected his life to feel different after one kiss. Not dramatically different, not movie-ending different, but perceptibly shifted, like a bookshelf nudged into better alignment with the room around it. He walked into the cooking class with Lila's hand loosely in his, and for the first time, he didn't worry about interpretation or nuance or what he should be feeling. He just felt it. Warmth, ease, possibility. Lila squeezed his hand once as they stepped inside. "Ready to face another culinary adventure?" "I've survived this long," he said. "At this point, I'm committed." "Such bravery," she teased, leaning closer. "What a hero you are." "I try." "No," she said, her gaze flicking up to him with an affectionate softness. "You don't try. You just are." Tom wasn't sure how someone could make a sentence feel like a hug, but she managed it. Tonight's class was making spring rolls, wash, chop, roll, dip. A project requiring teamwork but not precision. Good, Tom thought. His precision tended to crumble when Lila smiled too much. Tom started slicing vegetables while Lila arranged ingredients in neat lines. You know, she said lightly, Emily texted me after our date. She wanted to know if you had boyfriend potential. Tom coughed mid-slice. Did you answer? I did, she said. And, she turned, expression bright with mischief. I said absolutely yes. His heart did a small, startled jump. You did. MHM. And, do I? He meant. Do you want that? Do you want me? Lila's voice softened. I didn't say yes to make her stop asking. I said yes because that's where I see us going. He forgot how chopping worked for a few seconds. Lila laughed and reached across the counter, gently slipping the knife from his hand. Before you injure yourself, let me help. He let her take it. You're very distracting. That's what I'm here for. The quiet between them settled into something intimate, something warm. No need for translations. They worked in tandem, bumping elbows, sharing small looks. Every now and then, Lila's hand brushed his on purpose. Tom didn't miss it. Not anymore. Halfway through class, a wave of murmurs spread from the doorway. Tom turned and nearly dropped a rice wrapper. His sisters were back. This time, however, they weren't sneaking or crouching or pressing their faces against windows. They were standing calmly in the doorway like normal human adults. Danny gave a small wave. Claire smiled diplomatically. Meg mouthed, "No drama," while making a halo gesture. Tom sent a look that meant, "I will walk into the ocean if you ruin this again." Claire mouthed back, "We'll behave." Miracles apparently did exist. Lila spotted them and chuckled. Your sisters are very committed. That's one word for it, Tom muttered. But the sisters stayed at the door, whispering animatedly and, shockingly, not interfering. As if sensing his disbelief, Lila nudged him. Look at that. They're learning. Maybe, Tom said. Or maybe they're planning something terrifying. We'll cross that bridge later, she said. Or run from it. Running seems likely. They finished their spring rolls in relative peace. When Mark announced that everyone could sample their creations, Lila offered Tom the first bite of their shared plate. He took one, nodded approvingly. This is good. We're talented, she said modestly. We are. And humble. Very. She grinned. After class, Tom walked Lila to the parking lot. The night was cool. The sky scattered with stars dimmed by city glow. She paused by her car and turned toward him, hands slipping into the pockets of her denim jacket. So, she said, I've been thinking. About. Us. His heart stuttered. Oh, relax, she said with a quiet laugh. It's good thinking. He exhaled. Tom, she said softly. I haven't felt this comfortable with someone in a long time, or this excited, or this seen. He swallowed. I feel the same. But, she added, taking a step closer, I want to make sure we keep talking. Not just flirting and cooking and hoping for the best. You want clarity, Tom said. She smiled. I want us to be intentionally intentional. That sounded exactly like something his sisters would have approved of. But it also sounded right. Well, he said slowly, I think we're already moving that direction. Her gaze softened. Then maybe we say it. Something fluttered in his chest. Not fear, but anticipation. Say what exactly? He asked quietly. That we're dating, she said. Officially. He blinked. Officially. Yes. No more almosts? No more almosts, she confirmed. Tom considered this for exactly half a second. Okay. Okay. Yes, he said. I want that. Her smile grew, bright and sure. Good. Then she reached up, brushing her fingers against his jaw, and kissed him. Slowly this time, warmly, as if sealing an agreement. When they parted, she whispered, I'm very glad you signed up for that class. I didn't, he reminded her. My sisters did. In that case, she said, touching her forehead to his. Thank them for me. Tom groaned. Please don't encourage them. I absolutely will. He sighed, amused and doomed. He drove home feeling lighter than he had in years. When he walked into his apartment, he wasn't surprised to find all three sisters waiting on his couch like an eager tribunal. Claire steepled her fingers. Well, Meg leaned forward. Do we need to celebrate? Danny grinned. Or protect your fragile heart? Tom stood in front of them, arms folded. I have news. Three women inhaled at the same time. We're dating, he said. Officially. The shrieking began immediately. Meg jumped up. Danny flung a throw pillow into the air like confetti. Claire clapped like a proud but chaotic matriarch. Oh my God, Tom. We knew it. This is the best night of my life. Tom endured the onslaught of joy until they all collapsed into a group hug around him. We're happy for you, baby brother, Claire said, voice thick with genuine affection. We really are, Danny added. Meg beamed up at him. And we promise, no more ambushes. Tom narrowed his eyes. Do you mean that? Meg looked away. Mostly, Claire sighed. We'll try. Danny nodded. Trying counts. He laughed despite himself. I'll take it. They let him go, and something warm, steady, and true settled in his chest. Lila liked him. He liked her. They were dating. His sisters were trying. Life was good. And for once, he wasn't translating anyone else's language. He was learning a new one that was theirs. Together. Chapter 10. Put a pin in that. Sunday dinners with the Parks family were never calm. Even calling them dinners was generous. They were more like chaotic culinary festivals where food, loud opinions, and unsolicited advice collided in spectacular fashion. Tom had warned Lila, repeatedly, but she insisted she wanted to meet his family, all of them, because, as she put it, if I can survive your cooking class disasters, I can survive anything. He wasn't convinced. They walked up the familiar front steps of his parents' house, Lila carrying a small box of pastries despite Tom's insistence that his mother always made too much food. Warm light spilled from the windows, and the unmistakable sound of his sisters arguing drifted out into the evening. Lila squeezed his hand. It'll be fun. Tom wasn't sure if fun was the right word. It'll be something. She laughed. He opened the door, and the chaos began. There he is, his father boomed from the living room. And he brought the famous Lila. Tom's mother appeared from the kitchen like a whirlwind made of hugs. Honey, welcome. We've heard so much about you. Lila smiled warmly. All good things, I hope. The three sisters peeked around the corner. Claire looked analytical. Danny looked starry-eyed. Meg looked ready to conduct a full-length interview. Tom groaned quietly. Prepare yourself. Lila stepped forward confidently. Hi, I'm Lila. It's so nice to finally meet everyone. Claire offered a hand. I'm the responsible one. Danny hugged her. I'm the emotional support one. Meg pointed at herself dramatically. And I'm the chaos. Lila laughed. I figured. Meg gasped. I love her. Tom covered his face. Dinner was a predictably noisy affair. The table overflowed with food. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, rolls, vegetables, casseroles that seemed to multiply during conversation. Lila fit into the rhythm shockingly well, weaving into conversations as if she'd been there for years. At one point, Tom's mother leaned forward and asked, So, dear, how did you two meet? Tom opened his mouth. Lila beat him to it. Cooking class. Oh, Claire said, smirking. Our idea. Meg leaned in. Was he adorable? He's always adorable. Meg, Tom muttered, stabbing his potatoes. Lila smiled slyly. He was very adorable. Tom almost inhaled his water. His father chuckled. Just like his old man. His mother elbowed him. Oh, please. Conversation moved in loops, bouncing from topic to topic, and Tom found himself watching Lila more than participating. She was animated and engaged, laughing easily, slipping effortlessly between jokes and sincerity. In the middle of a story about childhood hide and seek gone wrong, Claire narrowed her eyes. You're very composed. Lila raised a brow. Should I not be? Well, Claire said. Most of Tom's previous dates were uncomfortable, nervous, or flaky. Meg groaned. Or obsessed with astrology. That was one girl, Tom protested. She broke up with you because of your rising sign. Danny reminded him gently. It wasn't compatible, Meg added unhelpfully. Lila grinned. Well, I'm not here to analyze his star chart. Tom's mother clasped her hands. I like her. His father nodded solemnly. She can stay. Tom felt heat creep up his neck. She's not furniture. Thank goodness, Lila said lightly. I'd make a terrible lamp. Tom laughed despite himself. After dinner, the group migrated to the living room, board games, hot tea, and dessert. Lila settled beside Tom on the couch, her shoulder brushing his. The sisters clustered like sharks circling, but friendlier. Claire studied Lila carefully. So, what do you think of our brother? Tom choked. Claire. Lila took a sip of tea, perfectly calm. I think he's thoughtful. And funny in a quiet way. And he listens better than anyone I've ever met. Danny sighed. That's true. Meg leaned forward. Does he talk enough, though? Meg, Tom warned. Lila smiled. He talks when it matters. His heart did a strange little twist at that. Claire nodded slowly. Good answer. Then Lila tilted her head. And what do you think of me? The sisters froze, caught off guard for the first time in years. Tom's eyes widened. Lila. But she wasn't challenging them. Her voice was warm, curious, confident. Claire's composure slipped. We like you. Danny nodded vigorously. You make him happy. Meg added. And you're cute. Meg, Tom hissed. What? She is. Lila laughed. Thank you. All of you. Tom leaned closer, murmuring. You're doing amazing. She whispered back. I told you I speak fluent, sister. He shook his head, a smile tugging at his mouth. I didn't believe you. Believe it, she said softly. I like them. And I like you. His breath caught. Yeah. Yeah. The chatter around them faded to background noise as he looked at her. Really looked at her. Her hair catching the warm lamplight. Her hands wrapped around her mug. The easy, gentle smile she offered him without hesitation. He felt something settle inside him, something certain, something steady. He wasn't just translating the world anymore. He was learning a new one, with her, and he liked it here. Later, when they finally slipped outside to leave, Lila wrapped her arms around herself against the cool night air. Tom walked her to her car, their steps slow, lingering. "Well," she said, turning to him with an amused smirk, "your family is exactly as advertised." "I'm sorry," he said reflexively. "Don't be," she said, tapping a finger lightly against his chest. "They're wild, and wonderful, and exhausting, like you." "I'm exhausting?" In a charming way, he huffed a laugh. "That's new." She opened her car door, then paused. "Tom." "Yeah. You fit with me," she said quietly. "More than you know." His heart tightened, full, warm, impossibly light. He stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. "You fit with me too." She rose onto her toes and kissed him, slow and soft and certain. When she pulled back, her smile was small and sure. "See you tomorrow?" "Yes," he said without hesitation. "Absolutely." She slipped into her car, closed the door, and waved before pulling away. Tom watched her until her taillights disappeared. Then he turned toward the house, where he could already hear Meg shouting. He totally kissed her goodnight, didn't he? He sighed and smiled. His life had changed, and not in a dramatic, chaotic way. In a quiet, steady, beautiful way. One chapter closing, a new one beginning. And for once, Tom didn't feel like the boring one, or the cautious one, or the overthinking one. He just felt happy. Really, truly happy. And that, he decided, was the best ending he could have asked for.